if they weren't there, would you miss them? Would their presence be missed? And that's how you know that
And
you
would you,
truly belong in a place.
yeah, and would you notice too? There's a difference between inclusion and belonging, and those are two totally different things. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest installment of the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I'm your host, Nick Comstock. You guys, I am so glad that you're joining me here today on this Tuesday. It is going to be a great day. You know why? Because it's a brand new episode of the podcast, and I have an amazing guest, as always. I think all my guests are amazing, and today is no different. But before we get into my amazing guest and her ministry, I want to give you some show notes. So, if you are listening to this podcast right now on Apple, Spotify, I want to let you know that you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel at Nicolas Comstock. You can type in the Nick Speaks podcast, NICK Speaks podcast, and it'll come right up. And you can watch and hit subscribe and hit the little notification bell so that every time a new episode drops every Tuesday, you are notified and you can watch Nick Speaks as well as listen to Nick Speaks on Apple or Spotify. Also, give Nick Speaks a 5-star rating. I would really appreciate that. I just checked that the other day and I realized that we had about 5 or 6 5-star ratings, and I really appreciate that. So make sure you hit that up. Also, guys, you know about my book that I've had out. I've been promoting it for months now. I'm chapter 5, Breaking the Mold, in the book Trailblazing and Transforming Entrepreneurial Stories of People with Disabilities. Check that out. You can get it on your Amazon Kindle device and in paperback. And as I tell you every week, we are working on the audio version. So check that out as soon as you get a chance. Okay, enough of the boring show notes. Now let's get to our amazing guest. You guys, today for the first time on Nick Speaks, I am speaking to someone about a national organization called Capernaum that helps young adults with people that have disabilities basically transition into adult life. But the great thing is that they also help young people with disabilities find and connect with Jesus in a way that they can understand. And I'm so excited to have the newly appointed director of the Columbus Metro branch of Capernaum, Megan Metzger, on the program. I probably butchered her last name, but it's right there on Zoom. You can see it. Welcome, Megan, to the program, everybody. Megan, how are you?
Doing great. I'm excited to be here. Thanks, Nick.
I am so excited to have you here. We met about a month ago at a wonderful event that we can touch on a little bit called Friends for Life. It's where people with developmental disabilities get together every month and you guys hang out and you have pizza and just well, sometimes you have pizza. When I was there, you had a chili bar and hot dogs and all that stuff. And then you had pizza the next month, and I wasn't able to make it, but hopefully I'll be able to make it again soon. But I met you, and then later we had a meeting at a Starbucks. And I love your story and what Capernaum is doing for young adults, for people with disabilities. And I said, I have to have you on. So why don't you tell everybody who you are and a little bit about your story, and then we'll get into some questions and have a good time. And don't be nervous.
Okay. Okay. Won't be nervous. All right. So my name's Megan, like you said, And yeah, I just stepped into the role of the Greater Columbus Capernaum coordinator. I have been on part-time staff since 2021. So been leading Young Life for the past this I'm going on year 5. And
Wow.
so yeah, so Capernaum is a branch of Young Life. So Young Life is a ministry to teenagers, and Capernaum we our age group that we work with is 14 to 20, their 23rd birthday, they kind of graduate out of this program. And so when we met each other at Friends for Life, for the past, literally since I started doing Capernaum, I have had like something, like I was like, man, we need something for adults with disabilities. We need something for 23 plus for when they graduate out of Capernaum, because unfortunately, um, they have to graduate out, and that is this really big bummer. But we target high school students basically, and some high school students are in high school until they're 22. So we just say their 23rd birthday, they graduate out of Capernaum. So that's kind of um, how we met. And man, I'm old. I've been in ministry for majority of my life, like over 20 years. So, but do you want to know all of that, or
Oh,
where do
yeah.
you want
No,
to start?
you're good.
Uh, yeah, I've done mission work in Africa. Lived in Africa for 16 months doing various things with, um, it was just like traveling and helping organizations. That was the first 4 months. And then the second part of it was working, I did high school ministry. So I traveled from high school and shared the gospel. And we did a lot of AIDS awareness. And then I worked at an orphanage for a while. So right out of high school, I was in ministry, and then I went to Bible college. Um, and actually, in Bible college, this is like 2007, 2008, I led Young Life, traditional Young Life at a high school, um, for a year. And then I moved back to my hometown of Bowling Green, Ohio. I'm from Bowling Green originally.
Mhm.
And then lived at home, studied social work. I met my husband, who was a Young Life leader in Bowling Green. So Young Life's been a big part of my life. We've always been supportive of Young Life. We've always donated to Young Life. Like, um, I love what Young Life does. It goes and reaches the furthest out kid. Um, and so,
It's kids for, it's not just kids that have disabilities, right?
so
It's,
Young Life is for every high school student, and then there is Capernaum for special needs, or disability, and then there's Wildlife that reaches middle school students, and then there's Young Lives who reaches teen moms. So those are the branches of Young Life.
okay, cool. That's awesome. So how did you, because when I spoke with you yesterday, you said you didn't really um grow up around people with disabilities. So
Mhm.
how did you um get such a passion for the disabled community?
Yeah, so I've spent most of my life working with people on the margins, whether it be, you know, people in third world countries or houseless individuals. A lot of houseless people that I met had disabilities, so it was introduced in that way.
Mhm.
But when I met my husband, his oldest brother has a disability. It's an intellectual and developmental disability. They don't really have a name for it. He's 45 years old, and he also has cerebral palsy. So
Okay.
he's non-speaking, um, and he needs like 24-hour care. But he is the best person that ever has lived. So when I first met him, I was just like, I'm sold. I love him so much. And then um, in my adulthood, my dad became friends with a man who was disabled, and he came around to all of our like family gatherings. He was at my wedding. Like his name was Jimmy. And so I was around it, but not much as a kid. So, and we had chatted a little bit before, like even in high school, like I really didn't know. I never saw the kids with disabilities in my high school. They were hidden pretty well.
Hush, hush. Yeah.
I can't even recall. I can remember one kid who did have Tourette's, but other than that, like I wasn't really around it. So, um, but in 2010, before I was even married, me and my husband drove out to Nebraska because his area director for Young Life moved out there and needed help for a Capernaum weekend. And so we drove through the night, 12 hours, got out to Omaha, and we did a Capernaum camp. And I remember looking at my husband and saying, like, I love this. Like, I want to do this someday. But this was in 2010, okay? And so then life kind of moved on. I got a job at I was working for Job and Family Services. We got married. I had kids. I didn't do ministry really while my kids were really small. I just was a mom, stay-at-home mom for
Oh, that's a ministry in itself.
it is a ministry in itself. I started doing prison ministry shortly, like when I have twins. I have a daughter who's 12 and I have twins who are 9.
I
And when
didn't.
they got, yeah,
You didn't tell me you had twins. Kind
I
of
do
like
have twins.
you had a
You're a
twin.
twin. You're a twin, right?
Yes. So
Yes.
are they identical or fraternal?
They're fraternal. It's boy-girl twins.
Okay. All right.
Yep. So when they got a little bit, when they got older, they were like toddlers. I started volunteering at the women's prison in Marysville. It's called ORW. It's just down the road actually from me, and started getting back into ministry. And then when my twins got into um, like school, kindergarten, our area director in Young Life here in our local area asked me if I would consider coming on staff and coordinating Capernaum for his local area. It's Darby Creek. So we were in the Marysville area. So that's what I did. So that's how I started part-time and working for Young Life. But it took a long time. It was like 2010 to 2021 before I actually started working with Capernaum. But I knew all along, like I was like, I want to do that. So, and I had said things like that to our area director, like, hey, if you ever get a Capernaum started in this area, like, I want to be part of this. I don't know how I'll be part of this, but I want to be part of it. And so I think that was the bug that I put in his ear. And that's why he asked me to be part of this ministry. But that's kind of how it got started. And then from then on, I didn't know anything. I'm not specially trained in disability or special ed or like I don't really know anything about it. But I sat down with a teacher that teaches special ed, and I was like, "Listen, I want to share Jesus with kids with disabilities. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing." And she goes, "Megan," she said this, and this has stuck with me. She said, "You have a heart for people with disabilities. You love them." And she's
Yes.
like, she said, I can't teach you how to love people with disabilities, but I can teach you everything else that you need to know. And
Yep.
so that stuck with me. I've never been, I just kind of always been like, let's go. And for me and for Capernaum, it's not if we can do it or if we never say that. We say how can we do this? How can we make this presentable for you? How can we get you into a club room? How can we get you to camp? How can we do these things? And um, there are obstacles that may come up, but we are always looking for ways that we can make things happen for kids. And in Capernaum, this is where kids with disabilities, teens and young adults hear the words yes. And a lot of times for the first time because they're told no, 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 we can't. And in
Yeah.
Capernaum, we're like, no, we can, and we figure it out. So
Yep.
that has been such a gift, and it's so fun to experience that with kids.
Yeah. So I love the fact that you said you guys at Capernaum figured it out. You gave me some stats just right before we came on air, and I would like you to give those stats because Capernaum is a worldwide organization, and I am so thrilled to find out about this. And I'm going to do more work with you guys, and I'm going to get involved in a disability ministry, hopefully there, because this is something that I've been looking for. So why don't you give the stats to the listening and viewing audience that you gave me?
Yeah, so Capernaum was created in 1986, and it was created by a guy who was a traditional Young Life leader. He was just at the high school one day, and he saw these kids going to lunch early because they always are released to lunch like 10 minutes ish early than everybody else. And he was
Mm-hmm.
like, why why isn't anybody talking to those kids? And so in 1986 he like went to like the president of Young Life or whoever was in charge, and he was like, hey, I think we need to have a ministry to people with disabilities. And that's how it was birthed. And the president was like, go for it. Start it however you want to do it. And so it's a beautiful story. His name is Nick Palermo. That's the creator of Capernaum, but it's in 30 countries right now, all over the world. Uh, and then there's 369 Capernaum global ministries. And then a big part of what Young Life does is we know kids by name. And there's 30,000 plus kids known by name. So it's one thing we know kids by name. I have a list of names that I write down to the schools that I'm ministering to, that I'm going to, that I'm reaching kids at. I write their names down and we pray for them. Young Life leaders pray for kids by name. And I just think that that's so cool. 30,000 plus names, kids with disabilities that are known all across the world.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so awesome. So, what are some of the things that Capernaum helps young Christians with disabilities? What are some of the things that you guys do and implement?
So we go where kids are and we build a relationship. Sometimes I spend time at the high school for months and sometimes years before kids actually give me a chance to like talk to them. But we introduce them to Jesus. So we have programs that we run. So we do club, which is an outreach, which is a lot of fun. It's a party with a purpose. So we usually have food and we do proclaim the gospel at club, and then we play games, we sing, we dance, we do a bunch of silly things. But that's a fun place where kids can come and just be with other kids, be with college leaders and high school students. That's the hope, that there is that inclusive environment, and learn about Jesus. So that's the beginning. And then we have Bible studies we call campaigners, and we do that either once a week or every other week. We meet with kids who are actually like, I kind of like want to learn more about this Jesus. Who is he, and what's he all about? And so we open up the Bible, and for Capernaum, what I've learned over the years is like we will take a chunk of scripture and we will spend a lot of time in that scripture. And we will read it over and over again. We will break it down. But that is so helpful for our friends to comprehend when they hear it over and over again. And that's like that like meditation or that chewing on scripture that we're supposed to be doing anyways. We get to do that with our friends, and it's so fun. So we may take like 4 months and just study one particular scripture. And it's so fun to see the kids like understand it and start to grasp it and
Oh,
even memorize it. So it's so, so fun. So that's our campaigners. And not only are we reading the word, we're praying together. Some campaigners, we worship together. So it's a fun thing to do together. And then we do summer camps. So we go away to a Young Life camp. There are specific Young Life camps that are created for people with disabilities.
mhm.
One would be Carolina Point in North Carolina. Everything is accessible. So it is like the best camp I've ever been to for people with disabilities.
I
And
want to go.
yes, you should. You should go as an adult guest. They're so awesome. And then Rockbridge is becoming more and more accessible, and that's in Virginia. So it's just so fun to take kids away. I've seen kids with feeding tubes, and then obviously in wheelchairs and all the things, be able to go and participate in activities like zip line and, do the Ogo balls and do all the activities that everybody else is doing. It is so cool how Young Life makes things accessible for them. And I take kids with like crazy diet restrictions, and the food cafeteria people always like meet me where we need to be. So it's just so awesome to be able to take kids. And I've heard parents say, like, I never thought that this would be a possibility for my kid. I never thought that they would have an experience like this. And so it's so fun to be able to take them. I got to take a kid this just last month in June who had never been out of Ohio. Like he'd never, like hardly ever been out of the Columbus area. So like, it's just fun to like be able to experience those things with kids. And then we do a day camp. So we do a local camp. And maybe kids are like, I don't want to go away from home. I like my home. I like the comfort of my home.
Mhm.
Or they have super specific medical needs that we just, for whatever reason can't do at an away camp. We do a local day camp and we put that on for kids and we bring camp to them. So those are some of the things that we do in Capernaum.
Yeah, that is awesome, Megan. What have the parents? I know you touched on it a little bit, but what have the parents have said? Because a lot of parents are just like, especially once their kid, graduates high school, or even when they're in high school or junior high, they're like, my, my son or daughter doesn't have any friends. I know that's something that I struggled with um, growing up. So, what have the parents said to you about Capernaum? How has it affected them as a parent, to be able to see their kid just thrive?
Yeah, I have some cool stories. Another thing that we do in Capernaum,
Yeah.
is what we call contact work. And it's where leaders are in the lives of the kids that we're ministering to. So we go to all their events. We hang out with them at um, the coffee shops or go get lunch with them or play video games or watch movies with them. So like a Young Life leader is their friend first and foremost. But then it's so fun to see them becoming friends with one another. So that's been so huge in the lives of our friends. And I've heard from parents as well. Like it's like they say, these are my people. These are my people. These are the people that I can fully be myself. Um, and they love me and they accept me and
Right.
they I feel celebrated in this space. I feel like I belong. And that is what we're all about. We want to create those spaces where they feel like I don't have to hide who I really am. I don't have to hide my disability. I'm actually celebrated for the way that I am created and I'm loved and I'm cared for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure it's created an amazing support group for parents who say, I thought I was alone in this, and now
Mm,
I'm sure they find they're not, you know. um,
yeah.
Especially with it being a faith-based program, you know, faith and
Hmm.
disability is really difficult, as you and I've talked about. And,
Hmm.
this is just so awesome to have this program. So, what are some of the things? I know you guys have a curriculum that you do, but what does anything set the Columbus Metro chapter apart from the other chapters? Like, is there something unique, or what are some of the things that you guys do?
So the cool thing about our metro is that there are four and going on five because we're planning a new one next month. Um, Capernaum groups all around Columbus. So we're all doing the same thing in our own communities, but then um, several times a year we actually come together and we're like this huge group of people all doing the same thing in our different ministries, and it's really fun to mesh that. Um, Also, there's not many other ministries like there. I think Cincinnati has a metro. They don't call it a metro, but it's similar to ours. They have four Capernaums in Cincinnati, but like other ones in like our division and I don't know much. I don't get to interact much with like other Capernaums like across the nation, but like usually it's just this small little group And so and also like I think Washington DC has their own like Capernaum like little unit. So it's different wherever you go, but when you're in a big city, you get to reach, you get to have like so much more reach into the communities, I feel like, than if you were just like a small rural, Capernaum. But I have heard that people drive like hours to go be part of these little Capernaum groups too. So like it is needed, and it's
Awesome.
awesome that we have it so close. And I hope to plant 4 more Capernaums in the coming years. I would love to see more Capernaums pop up in like Westerville, in the city of Columbus would be so amazing. Um, Over in Hilliard, there's not one. So like there I am praying for more Capernaums to pop up in these communities and to just have impact on the students with disabilities in those schools.
Yeah, so if you're anywhere in Columbus, Ohio, and you're listening to this right now and you're watching this right now, we're going to have all of Megan's information in the show notes. Reach out to her and, be like, I want to be a part of this. I know I'm going to be a part of it. We're going to start talking more. Um, they're going to have one starting in a community nearby me, which is like minutes from my house. So I am so excited. There's a totally different program, which we can touch on a little bit, but I actually want to have the guy that runs that program on the show. So Andy, if you're listening, hello. Um, but where they teach people with disabilities to become leaders. Talk a little bit about that program too.
Yeah, so 3 years ago in the Buckeye region, that's the region that Columbus is in, we started Leadership Experience. So I'm one of the trainers from that, which it would be fun to have Andy Davenport on here, but it would also be so fun to hear from some of the specialists who's actually gone through the program
Yeah.
and their experience. That would be so fun. But it's a 9-month training program for adults with disabilities uh, who who want to be stretched and challenged in the realm of leadership. And we walk through 9 months of material. It's all on servant leadership. We look at the model of Jesus in Scripture, and then we break that down each month with 8 different characteristics that Jesus led with. And we talk about them. We do practical things. They have a service project that they have to do. It's a very awesome opportunity. They're always interviewing people in the community about leadership, and it's just fun. It's like one of those things. It's what it's taught me is that our friends with disabilities have so much to give, and so often we're always wanting to serve them and do things for them, and like and it's like, wait a second, like can't we like be co-laborers in this and do this together? Can't we like come side by side and like go and like serve the world and love others together? So that is what it's taught me the most. Every time I go through another leadership experience, I'm just so encouraged and I learn something new about being a servant leader as well. So it's a great program.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you know why, Megan, in my opinion, that people with disabilities we struggle getting involved is because the leadership looks at our disability and they're like, I don't know, can they do much? Oh, let's have them
Hmm.
be a greeter. Oh, okay, that's good. You know,
Hmm.
gives them the proverbial head pat and says, "Oh, we got you involved. Yay." Speaking from life experience, people with
Hmm.
disabilities, at least in my case, I want to go so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
So it's just so interesting. You said it's called leadership experience.
Hmm.
I just want to make sure that that gets in the program because you said it kind of fast. So it's called leadership experience, and we're going to
Hmm.
put that in the program too. Hopefully, we'll put that in the show notes as well, and hopefully, we'll get Andy on the program and some of the others to come talk about it because you told me this when we met at Starbucks, and I was like, ready to sign up now. Like it does cost money. I think you said what, $500 or
Yeah, it depends on the region, but typically like 500 to $1,000. Yeah.
it depends on the region. So, and
Hmm.
this would be, for those of you folks with disabilities that have able accounts, where you put a certain amount of your social security away every month, this would be a worthwhile investment. It's a
Hmm.
9 month training, 500 to $1,000. I know it's a lot of people for those of us that have disabilities. A lot of people, a lot of money for those of us who have disabilities. But if you have an able account, or especially if you have family supports and all that stuff, and are there scholarships, Megan, by any chance, or is that
There, that could be something that like we could talk about. Yeah, if there's like certain circumstances, um, we would probably just have to find a donor for that kind of stuff. But yeah, and I want to say too, like I had a guy apply, and he had like a job through I think it was the county board of DD, and they were going to pay for him to do this program. He didn't end up going through it, but um, there may be like workplaces that are like, I want you to have that type of training, or there may be churches that like are like, I want you to have that training, so they would like pay for you to go do that training. So that could be something that you look into as well.
right? And then the people at disabilities that go to your church pastors can be leaders in media departments and helping you do your weekly announcements. Or maybe if you have somebody that's, loves to speak, like not that I would be want to be responsible for giving the sermon on Sunday, because that would freak me out, but maybe they would be willing to do that. So this is just so great. I have loved talking about Capernaum and the leadership program. What has being with Capernaum all this time? Because you also have an autistic son in the mix of all this, and you say they're involved and they're all around. But what has this taught you? Like being in this world now, like what what has it taught you the most?
I think this is a heavy question. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is it has taught me how to love.
Yeah,
I think I've learned more about Jesus being with my friends with disabilities than I have learned anywhere else on this planet. I've had this conversation with my sister. She's a world traveler. She travels all over the place and she loves it, and I love that for her. And there, she's like, oh, you gotta like live life. And, she says these things to me. And I'm like, well, I went to camp and, there are things that I've had to do, like clean up, throw up, and wipe bottoms and um, be very, very patient in waiting. But these things have taught me who Jesus is and
yeah,
how Jesus served. I always come back to the verse in Matthew like 25 where he says, uh, whatever you do for the least of these, you do for me. I have learned what it means to be human sitting with my friends with disabilities, whether they speak or not speak, or sometimes they say the most profound things or do the most profound things that I'm like, oh my goodness. Those are the moments where sometimes I'm like, what even is my life right now? But I think about it and I'm like, I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. There isn't anywhere else that I'd want to be because of what I have experienced. It has just grown me. And I know more about Jesus than I think I ever have in any of my experiences ever. And I've done a lot of ministry over the years. So I think that that's what I've learned the most. I've had a taste. My son has ASD level 1 and anxiety, and we went through a lot of behaviors A lot of meltdowns, a lot. He was very aggressive when he was young. I've been beat, I've been bit, I've been, scratched, I've been tackled, all of it. What did you say?
I said, my goodness. Yeah.
I've had a lot of that, and we didn't know what was going on at first. We thought it was behavior, and we treated it like it was behavior. But once we got him some help and realized that no, this is autism, and we started treating it as autism and learning how to help him, um, it's totally changed my perspective. I can sit with someone when they're having a meltdown. I can, and I can, and it's not like stop it right now, or or like, like it's tell me what's going on when you're ready. Um, it's seeing when my son acts out and knowing like, oh, something's not okay. And so like it has taught me, and I mean, I don't go through near as much as a lot of the parents that I work with go through, but I've had a taste of it, and I can empathize and I can sit with them and I can say this sucks and this is really hard. Um, and I
Yeah.
can weep with them and I can laugh with them and I can so that has been a gift. My son and all of my children have been around disability from birth. Obviously, like their Uncle Jake was in the birth room like as soon as they were born. Like he was walking in and he was seeing them and looking at them. And so they have a special um, bond with people with disabilities. My kids come to Capernaum events. They're around all the time. They can't wait till they can come to camps. My oldest is 12 and she was a buddy at our day camp this year, and just they love it. And I wouldn't have it any different. I want my kids to be around people who are different and to know that like it's totally fine, and to love and accept people just as they are. And so that's really important for me. That's what I've learned, and that's what I'm trying to pass down to my kiddos as well.
Yeah. You know what you said is so powerful, and I say it all the time in a different way. You brought up Matthew 25, and where it says, if you're serving me, you do it to the least of the, I quote it backwards. But you brought up that verse in Matthew 25, and I tell caregivers all the time,
Mm.
what you do, you are the hands of you are the hands and feet of Jesus. You are, whether you're, yes, wiping bottoms aren't isn't the most pleasurable thing to do, but number one, keep in mind they probably don't want you to do it. They wish they could do it themselves, and they wish, some of them wish that they could probably be in their right mind so that they could be, quote unquote, what the world calls deemed as normal. And just realize that you have such a gift, especially if you're a caregiver who's a believer in Jesus, to
Mm.
do his ministry right there as a caregiver. You have the opportunity to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And so I'm glad that you brought that up, because it's so important to do,
Mhm.
so important to realize that people with disabilities are human too, and we deserve to be treated like it. And I think Capernaum is doing such a wonderful job. You said something to me about inclusion yesterday that really just made my jaw drop. Can you say that again?
I don't know if I can say it the same way, but um I did look up my favorite theologian. He's who I learn a lot of this from, John Swinton. But inclusion is different than belonging. And I think that inclusion is huge and it has its place, and I am all for inclusion. But the difference between inclusion and belonging is that belonging creates a space where people feel um, that that they belong. And here's the catch: they are missed when they're not there.
Yeah.
So inclusion may be like, here's a ramp for you to get into this building, or here is a device that you can use so that you can communicate. Inclusion is, hey, come sit with us at this table. Or inclusion is going up to someone and asking them how their day was. Like that is inclusion. That is awesome. And that has a place. Belonging is, I accept you just as you are. And I miss you when you're not there. Um, and I think that we we so often just think that if someone is included, then that means that they belong. But if they weren't there, would you miss them? Would their presence be missed? And that's how you know that
And
you
would you,
truly belong in a place.
yeah, and would you notice too? Is is,
Notice.
is I think the way you said it yesterday is the way I remember it now is there's a difference between inclusion and belonging, and those are two totally different things. And when someone with a disability knows that they belong, when we are not just a fixture, when it's not just, oh, there's Nick, there's that guy in a wheelchair. You know how many times I've been referred to as that guy in a wheelchair? But
Mm.
when somebody actually knows me and they actually love being around me, it's so different.
Mhm.
It says I belong, it says I'm important to you. Um,
Yeah, and you don't have to work to fit in, right? You just fit in. Like there's
yeah,
just this like I can just be like and it's a space where you can be vulnerable, right?
yeah.
You can be vulnerable and you can be accepted just as you like it's yeah. There is a difference and I don't know, but the more that I spend time with people with disabilities, the more I understand it.
Yeah, yeah. And you really do. That special educator that spoke with you, she said one thing right to you, which is you have a heart for it. You really do. And you're the type of guest that I look for all the time. So I'm so glad that you you came on today. And one of the things I want to talk about before we wrap up, because you said one of the things that you talk about in Capernaum, or that you teach the people, the friends with disabilities that you're around, is you teach them boundaries. And we talked about that yesterday because I, a lot of people with disabilities have clinging syndrome. What I say it is what I tell parents is don't let your special needs kids become a part of the Klingon club. Um, where and that's where you put your kid with a disability in front of a TV, phone, and computer, and that's it. And then they find someone that is really interested in the person, and then they latch on and they start blowing up their phone, and they
Mhm.
really smother the person, and then the person has no idea. So
Mhm.
they have no idea what to do after, this person starts blowing up their phone and wanting to be with them all the time. So talk about, Megan, what you do specifically with that and how you teach them boundaries.
So, like I said, Capernaum is very relational. Okay, and so we're friends. And I've had to learn this like as I have grown into it. Um, but I recognize that some people would like text me a lot or call me a lot. And I had to start thinking like, okay, is this okay? Is this okay that they're doing this? Is this okay? Should I respond? And so like I've learned from other people too. Like this is wisdom that's been passed to me, but and this is wisdom that I pass to other leaders. But what is the loving thing to do? Uh, and that is like what we have to think through because is it loving to just let people do stuff because they have a disability? Or is it
Yeah,
loving to actually like show them what is socially like what is acceptable? And so like sometimes you have to set parameters around that. So it's like if someone is continuously texting me, that is not okay, right? Because they're blowing up my phone, and that could be like if you do that to someone else might block you or like be like this is too much, and like and just like ignore you or do all the things that maybe someone does because they get weirded out or whatever. And it, it's okay to have these conversations. Like we make it very normal to have a conversation and be like, you're my friend and I love you. And I want to talk to you. And I'm so excited to hear about the things you have to say. But I also have a life and I have a family and I have children and I have lots of things on my to-do list. And so I will set aside time, and say like from 2 to 3 p.m., I'm gonna say, I'm gonna talk to you. Whether you want to talk on the phone or you want to text, I will talk to you. But after that, if you text me, I won't respond. And so like that is just like one example, that I have used in the past. Um, but we're just saying like letting them know like we love you and there's nothing wrong. Like if I don't respond, it's not because I don't love you. It's because I have other things going on and I cannot sit on my phone and talk to you all day long. And it's like it's that is what is normal. And so like just teaching them that awareness and how to have awareness that other people have other things going on that they can't just dedicate all the time to talking to is okay. And will help them in their relationships with other people. So we want them to have relationships with their peers and with other people. And so just helping them set those or helping them understand through boundaries has been really beneficial. It's the same with calling, or it's the same if they're asking for money or like different things like that. Like we say, what is the most loving thing to do right now? And then we just set up, parameters around that. And so that's one way that we've
Mhm.
set those boundaries. And then like there's just other stuff like if there's spiritual content or if there's just like stuff like dating, like things that they want to talk about, we will open the Bible and we will talk, like we will like read scripture with them and we will pray about it and we will like ask the Lord, like, what do you have for us, God, in this? And like we'll talk about real life issues that everybody goes through. Um, and how that looks following Jesus. Um, it is all things that I have dealt with those same things, you know what I mean? Like in my own life, and maybe not in the same exact ways, but like I can relate a lot to some of my friends and wanting to be responded to when I send a text. You know what I mean? I know what that feels like. Hey, I want the answer now. Um, but just talking through those things, it just brings it like more real. Like this is real. This is a real thing you're going through, and that is, I mean, it's simple. It sounds I've made it out to be way more complicated than it is, but it's just real life, and we live it beside our friends.
No, that's you haven't made it complicated at all. I understand. Well, at least I I understand. Excuse me, I gotta get some water. I understand what you're saying, and this is why it's this is why it's so important to I tell parents of kids with special needs, like get them involved in the community. Let them go be with other people. Because number one, they're not always going to be around. I know special needs parents don't want to think about that. I know my parents didn't want to think about that. They thought I would always be with them. Surprise. I've been out on my own for almost 8 years now. It'll be 8 years next January. And so this is why and this is what makes Capernaum so great. And this is why I tell parents, especially when they get out of the daily routine of school, whether they graduate at 18 or 22. I said, I'm not having any more school after 18. So I, went to Bible college for a year. Then after that, I sat in a room and went stir crazy for almost a decade. Um, so this is why I tell parents, you need to get your kids number one away from you, but you need to get them away. Uh, you need to get them around other people in the community that you love and that you trust and that you care about so that they can care about your kids. Because the more people that care about your special needs children, the easier it is for a parent to rest. And
Mhm.
one of the things that I think is really hard, Megan, is special needs parents letting other people in, because they're like, I have to do this by myself. Nobody
Mhm.
understands.
Yeah.
And that may be true that those people don't understand, but they're not going to understand if you don't let them in little by little.
Hmm.
What do you say about that?
Well, even as like even as a parent of a kiddo who things could go real south real fast if and sometimes I'm like, I have my way of doing it and I want to like,
Yeah.
do that, but here's the thing, like even though someone else may not do it perfectly or do it just like I would do it,
Yeah.
letting other people in his life is so, 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 so important. Like him interacting with other adults who love him, who want the best for him. That is so, so important. And so even though they may say or do things that I'm like, ooh, cringe, hate that, um, him building relationship with other people and especially adults, I think is going to be so important to his development as he gets older. And so, and I get it. Like I have got trust issues, and I like a little like oh, but but I also like I believe in Jesus, and I trust the Holy Spirit, and I trust that He's got this,
Yep.
and He's in the business of redeeming everything. So even if things don't go the way I think that they should go, I have to trust that God is going to take it from there and he's going to do whatever he wants to do. And so it's the same. So many adults are like, you want to hang with my kid? Like, what? Like, that's so strange. And then, like, they'll give me a list of things that I have to watch out for and do. And so I try to do the best that I can with this list, but I know I'm not going to do it as perfect as that parent is going to do it. But yeah, it's like it all comes down to trusting God. And that's just kind of how I've leaned into those situations is like, I'm going to do the best that I can. And I love your kid so much. Or I'm going to let people love my kid and, like build that mutual trust, but also I trust God. And so far, he's never let me down. In fact, he's blown away my expectations, anything that I've ever had. So,
He'll do that. And he'll do that. God's amazing in that way. Um, Guys, I hope you've really enjoyed this episode today. Megan, it's been awesome having you. It
thanks for
really has
having me.
been. Oh, you'll be back. You will definitely be back, and we'll be back with some kids, some adults from the leadership experience, and hopefully we'll have Andy on the program. This is like the third or fourth time I mentioned him. So, Andy, hello. Uh, uh, I feel like that scene in Toy Story. Andy's going, "Ah," in all the toys freeze. Anyway, um, but so yeah, I really hope um, that, especially if you're in a community of faith, and even if you're not,
Mhm.
check out Capernaum. How many are, is it all, it's in all 50 states, right? Capernaum.
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
That's a good
well,
question.
you know what? We're gonna hook you up with
I
all
hope so.
we're gonna hook you up with all kinds of different things. We're gonna hook you up with Megan's information and the Capernaum website, and I'm sure they have a map or of somewhere where all the Capernaums are. So, and even if you don't have listen, Google Capernaum in my area. I'm sure it'll pop up.
Yep,
Uh,
you can do that. And if there's not, you can start one. So it's okay.
and so, yeah, and we need more ministries like this for people with disabilities. And I believe that this ministry will help people with disabilities get more involved in their churches and get the church world to wake up and say, "Hey, we're here," because that's an issue that we've struggled with too. Is church inclusion. Again, we don't just want to be included. Like, "Hey, I'm in your building. I ate your donut on Sunday morning." We want to belong. We want to have a part of our community of faith. So check this stuff out. And if you have any questions, we'll have all of Megan's information in the show notes, and she's more than willing to talk to you through email. That's how we started. And just I'm going to check out one of the camps. I think I'm going to go to North Carolina this year or
There
next.
you
I've always wanted to go down south. And so,
go.
and you know, they've got good Southern food down there. So,
True.
yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. But guys, I hope this episode was an encouragement to you. Check out Capernaum in your local area. I know I'm going to start to. Megan, thanks for being here. You've been awesome.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. And stay right there. I'm going to have a conversation with you right off air when we end here. And guys, this is the Nick Speaks podcast, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud. And it is the podcast dedicated to the disabled community. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Make sure to rate us, subscribe, and check out everything I told you to in the show notes. And we will see you next week. Bye.